ready to start this way because physics would say, well, I cannot do that. I mean, you cannot falsify this thing, so throw it away. Well, no, wait a second. I don't throw it away because I consider the starting point a conscious universe, not a universe that is unconscious and developed consciousness 13.8 billion years later. That's not the point.
Yeah, if you only allow for the falsifiable in your ontology, then you will miss everything that is primitive and irreducible and semantic.
Yeah, not only that, but also, you know, also you will never be able you will always work only with the symbolic aspect of reality. Not only the symbolic part in space and time. You can never accept the existence of something that you cannot measure, because if you cannot measure, you cannot falsify it. So, and that would take away exactly the meaning and the purpose of the universe, which is exactly what science has done. They have, because they cannot prove it, so it doesn't exist. Come on, because you cannot prove it, it doesn't exist. That is a point of view that actually cuts our leg off, cuts our nature, takes our nature out of the picture, our human nature out of the picture. And that is a fundamental problem that we got to go beyond, because that's exactly the cause of all this strife that we have. And basically starting with a universe that is soulless. Yeah, I am a proxy of one. You are a proxy of one. But then my son, my daughter, is a proxy also of me, but they're not less than me, right? So there we go. I mean, we are doing the same thing. Life is the same, done the same way. There isn't a lesser and more, in the way that we distinguish things in the physical world. This is longer, this is shorter, this is heavier. All that is valid within this virtual reality that we call, space-time with objects, classical physics, and that's valid, and it's a good game that we're playing in order to know ourselves. But that's it. Once we're done, we may come back here, and we go to a completely different game, like we change virtual reality in computers. You do, you do, you can have all kinds of different games that you want to play, depending on what you want to know and learn about yourself. Because we are the drivers, we are in charge of our own experience, of our own self-knowing. And because if it wasn't like that, who's in charge? Then one would have to be in charge of everything. It doesn't make any sense. One we are not disconnected from one. So anything that we know, one knows, because we are not separate from one. So to me, you know, this uniqueness that we are in terms of the capacity to experience in our own way, with our own viewpoint and controlling our experience, is a property that is inalienable and cannot be lost. Even when we combine, we basically it's like part of us that become combines with something else and goes its own way, and it may even be the part of me would be like a new creation, like when I create a child. I mean, I'm not, of course, as a human being, we don't carry a child within ourselves, and we don't, but if you look at a cell, when a cell wants to, is, the idea that I have, when a cell is ready to combine with another cell, for example, it will create another cell that will combine with another cell of another cell, and they combine. And so my consciousness remain with the cell that created the other cell, and the combination is a new entity that combine two cells, uh, uh, which I cannot have that experience. That would be a new entity that has a new experience. So so that is possible. In other words, uh, because if I were to combine myself, I would violate the principle of quantum information. I mean, it would mean that I could make a copy of my experience, which I cannot do. So once you have made that statement, you cannot change it. If you accept it as a postulate, quantum information that represents the experience cannot be reproduced. So I may reproduce, an entity that is capable of experiencing with the same structure that I have, like a cell that creates another cell like itself. But then that has to go out of me, has to combine with something else to grow in his own way, and I stay where I was. That's also the reason why identity cannot be lost. You don't want, it doesn't make any sense. Once created, it has to continue. And it can, any combination is simply, occurs by reproduction. So you reproduce another entity like yourself, and it combines with something else. Though I had experiences that were similar to what people that had near-death experiences reported. So, this sense of, of being vast, being that loves, with a love that comes out of me that is so incredible and so powerful, and that love is really the essence of one. I am the one observing myself through my point of view. So that kind of experience is similar to some of the experiences that people had near death experiences reported. So uh, uh, the the other thing that is important with near-death experience is that they are showing that you don't need a functioning body to actually have an experience. In particular, an experience which is life-changing, like a near-death experience is being for many, if not most, of the people that had near-death experiences. Um, how can you have a life-changing experience in the positive sense, with expansion, a sense of love and joy and peace and being at home and so on, which are similar to the experiences that I also had as fundamental feelings. When the body doesn't function, when the heart is stopped and the brain has no electrical activity. I mean, so that to me is a pretty good, indirect proof that we don't need the body to experience. And so I stop here because that already is telling you that there is more than what science is telling that we are. Because according to science, we are machines. When the machine breaks, that's the end of it. We shouldn't be conscious, and it should be the end of us. So this apparently is not true because there are hundreds of thousands of people that have reported near-death experiences. I'm always trying to make sense of things, understand them, comprehend them, and that requires a discipline that it's like a scientist. I mean, I'm a scientist fundamentally, so a scientist that had extraordinary experience of consciousness that has taken seriously instead of say, oh I had to see a doctor. BS. Those experiences were the most profound experiences I had in my life. Why should I see a doctor? Yes, the doctor should see another doctor if he didn't have any of those experiences.
Yeah, so I actually spoke once with Daniel Ingram, and he was describing to me his work. He's actually someone who spent a lot of time meditating, and what he does is he's working to update the DSM. Are you familiar with that? It's like the diagnostic criteria for
Oh yeah,
psychological
that's right.
pathology. So he's working to update that to include mystical experience and stuff like like gnosis, because people will go around like diagnosing people with pathologies or like something's wrong with you when like actually you're having like legitimate apprehension of like really important facets of reality. Uh, and so I think what you just described is it basically I think it's like the core epistemic shift that happens that will take you from reductive materialism to consciousness as fundamental. It's like if you make that epistemic shift, then it unlocks everything.
Yeah, and medical practice tells you that that is a pathology. And so, I mean, the best thing that happens to you is pathology. I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah, so you can see why there's a lot of pain and confusion then.
of course, and if you take seriously that stuff, you're not self-assured enough to know that you're not stupid or you're not, crazy,
Crazy. Yeah.
then you're taken to an hospital, and given stuff, medication that actually makes you stupid and, and crazy because I mean, uh, anyway, I don't want to go there, but it is a big problem today that anything which is not normal. Come on, if we were all normal, we wouldn't have science today. Science was what allow us to go beyond normal and then make normal what was eventually understood and and therefore seen its value and it became normal. I mean, anybody that wants to do something new science is called crazy by scientists
Mhm.
because we would like to have something, a game that is finite, but it's not the case. There is much more to know than anyone can possibly know. And so, if you go if you want to know something that is not known, that is unknown, and you are called crazy because you propose some ideas that are sensible to you because you had experiences and you want to go there, you don't even get any money to look at that. That's why I started the Federico Neve Faggin Foundation, because people that like me had experiences or understanding that tell them that reality is bigger than what science is telling now. Nobody will give them a penny of the institutions that give money to universities to do their research. So, I mean, so there we go. There we go. Same thing. So they're classified as crazies. But those are the guys that advance humanity. Those are the people that advance humanity. The people that go out of their way. Galileos. Those are the guys. Then the church puts them in house arrest if they don't burn them up like
Bruno.
poor the poor monk Giordano Bruno, right?
Yep.
So I mean, it was simply saying that the points of light that you see in the sky are suns that are very far away. It was such a stupid things to say, right? It was burned to the stake. Okay, so and we're not, science today often is not very different than what I've just described. So
It has its dogmas.
absolutely. And if you go in the history of science, is one dogma after another that is capitulates because new things were discovered and that the old dogma couldn't explain, and there was a fight for a while. Then eventually everybody had to cave in and say, "Yep, yep, it's true." I mean, entanglement. It took 80 years before people didn't want entanglement because entanglement is saying that particles are connected from the inside in ways that it could not possibly be connected from the inside. I mean, so 1935, the EPR paradox of Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen. 80 years later, it took 80 years before all the loopholes, were actually answered. And lo and behold, entanglement exists, and nobody understands why it can exist. So it means that we do not understand something, and we better, get our sleeves, up and get to work because it means that the understanding that we think we have about the way reality works is not even close to the way reality works. The theory, the Ariano-Faggin theory in consciousness, is saying that quantum information is representative. It represents the experience, inner experience, which is private, exactly like quantum information is private. So that would, just by accepting that, you have changed completely how reality is described by physics.